Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to unlock your brain capacity and how to build your brain muscle. Now before you at me, for you guys that are super literal, I know the brain's not a muscle, but I really like thinking of it as the same way of as far as we can train the brain is the same way we can train our muscles. So it's just an analogy, don't worry. Now, the topic for today's podcast actually came from a podcast I recorded last night. I think my devices were listening to me because last night I did a podcast on mindfulness and we talked about some techniques and some things that you can do to help build your concentration and become better at just focusing in, whether it's the markets or whether it's in real life. And today I got a little pop-up that came from an article that my good buddy Steve Burns wrote for his website New Trader U, talking about how to unlock your brain capacity, which is up the similar ship. So, whether it just happens to be a coincidence or whether my devices are actually listening to me and stalking me and then forwarding me towards the places they know I want to go, it doesn't matter because I thought it would be good content for this podcast. Now, you can view the full article on his website. Just go to newtraderu, that's the letter u.com, and it should be somewhere up there. But I'm going to bring you to kind of a section that I liked. And it broke down really brain capacity into about 5 different sections. And think about your brain capacity as the same way we would think of capacity in general, right? So your ability to store X, Y, and Z. And there are 5 main points that we want to look at when it comes to capacity. One is memory, which is your ability to store and retrieve information. 2 is reasoning, which is the ability to problem solve, to analyze whatever and come to conclusions. 3, creativity, which is your ability to think outside the box, another problem solving type of deal. 4 is attention. That's your concentration, your ability to lock in and focus. And 5 is your language, which your language is your ability to communicate whatever is in your brain, whether it be written or whether it be verbal. And he goes down to list a few tactics that you can use to really maximize your brain capacity. And I want to read through these, not word for word, but read through the headline and give my opinion on them. And 1, get enough sleep. I don't think people realize how important sleep is. Now, I've been an athlete my entire life, so I've always been told we got to get this much sleep to do this, we got to get this much sleep to do that. We spend our days kind of basically damaging our muscle fibers, and sleep is what allows them to kind of build back together and recover so that we can repeat the process the next day. So for an athlete, or as an athlete, I've always valued sleep because it's an important part of the recovery process for my physical well-being and my athletic competitiveness. But sleep is also very valuable to the brain, right? Understand that not only does your body repair itself during sleep, but sleep is when your body basically starts to filter out information. So imagine all the information that you gather during the day, which is a lot. It could be from everything you see, smell, taste, encounter, listen to, right? At night, at some point, right, your body or your brain has to decide what information is worth keeping and what information is not, because not you'll get information overload and there's just no way you can store all of that. So at night is when your brain basically kind of reorganizes the file cabinet. It says, hey, this from today is important. Let's store it here. This from today is irrelevant. Let's push it out. Boom, 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 boom. So when it comes to retaining information, when it comes to learning, the more sleep you get, the more information you're going to retain, the more you're going to learn. When you don't get sleep, and this is why I hate this whole kind of, hustle, grind. Like I believe in hustle and grinding, right? I came from that boat as well until I actually did what everyone was saying about no sleep and whatnot and basically wrecked myself. But I believe in working hard, but sleep has to be a part of that. You can do both, right? You don't have to be the person that wakes up 2 o'clock in the morning before everyone else to be considered a hard worker. You can work hard at night at 10 o'clock at night, or you can work hard during the middle of the day. You can do both. And part of your hard work, part of your hustle, part of your grind should be you focusing on your well-being, you giving yourself the opportunity to take advantage of all that you worked hard for throughout the day and retain it for the next day. That way you can come back bigger, better, stronger, faster, whatever. So getting sleep is key. The amount of sleep that you need kind of depends on your age, right? As you get older, you don't need as much sleep, but anywhere between, I would say 6 hours at a minimum, you should be getting. 12 hours if you're an athlete is maximum, but anywhere between 6 and 9 is usually a good amount of sleep that you should be getting. Following up on sleep, another one is going to be eat a balanced diet, and this is health and nutrition. And same thing, right? We are what we eat. You know, I was always told, again, as an athlete, that my body was a car, right? And I had a choice. Do I want to be a kind of rundown Buick or Subaru, or do I want to be a Ferrari? And I remember my coach telling me, hey, if you're going to treat your body like a Ferrari, would you put regular discounted gas in that Ferrari? And I'm like, well, no, I put the expensive stuff in there. He said, exactly. And how we fuel ourselves is the same way. If we want to operate on all cylinders, if we want to maximize what we're doing up here, we need to fuel ourselves the right way, right? Junk food, your sugars, your processed meat, stuff like that. Not only is it going to be bad for you health-wise, it's going to be bad for you mentally as well. Like a lot of caffeine, people that do all those energy drinks, right? I'm not saying they're bad, but everything has to be in the right quantity. But if you're putting yourself in that situation where you're eating poorly, your body is running poorly. If your body is running poorly, you're feeling lethargic, you're feeling tired, you're feeling forgetful, it's having a direct effect on your brain's capacity and your ability to operate. So treat yourself like a car. Ask yourself what type of car you want to be first, and then treat yourself as that type of car should be treated. Now, reducing stress was the next one. And reducing stress is so key. I can tell you this, especially when it comes to the creativity part and the kind of just the free thinking. It is very hard to think freely when we're stressed, right? Imagine stress as being like a distraction. When we have stress of, it could be relationships, it could be bills, it could be job security, it could be kids, it could be, insert the blank of whatever you're stressed about. Imagine these little bits of stress being distractions that are right in front of you throughout the day, right? So you want to lock in, you want to focus, you want to do what you're supposed to do each and every day, but you're carrying this stress in front of you, and these are things that are blocking you. You don't have that clear path. So it's very, very hard to see clearly when you have all of that stress in front of you. When you're able to remove that stress, and some of it is just changing your lifestyle, some of it is being in a different place, right? Maybe you have financial freedom, or you're out of kind of you've achieved the hierarchy of needs, right? The basic needs that we need not to be stressed. Maybe you've gotten out of that section. You start to see more clearer. And when you start to see more clearer, you operate better. And when you operate better, you find yourself elevated in whatever you're about to do. So some of it is actually changing your position in life and removing that stress from it. Some of it is also being mindful, like we talked about in a previous podcast, assuming I put these things out in order, where instead of avoiding the stress and letting it build up, you're accepting it. You're saying, hey, I'm not where I want to be at in life, or hey, I'm having a bad day because of this, or this relationship is unhealthy. And instead of avoiding it and pushing it aside, you're accepting it. You're saying, you know what? Yep, that's it. I'm going to deal with it. It's here. I'll focus on handling that later. But right now I need to push you to the side and focus on this goal, because this goal, which I'm trying to achieve, is what's going to allow me to remove that stress from my life, hopefully forever. Next one is going to be engaging in brain training activities, right? We talked about this in the mindfulness podcast about what's called the concentration grid, that you go through and pick out the numbers and focus on how long you can focus. Other games, puzzles, board games, right? Stuff like that. Anything that kind of gets the gears in the head working is going to be very beneficial. Again, the brain is not technically a muscle, no, but I like to think of training the brain the same way I would train the muscle, right? So if I want to build a stronger muscle, what do? I work it out. I go to the gym. I do cardio, right? And if I do it every once in a while, it gets a little bit stronger, then probably returns to where it was. If I do it on a consistent basis, it gets a lot stronger. And before I know it, I'm on an entirely different plane than I was before. The brain is the same way. If we get into a consistent habit of training it, doing this, doing that, and find something fun, find something that you enjoy, right? We're going to see that our brain's going to operate on an entirely different level, and that's going to open up the door to doing and seeing so many more things. So some other tips he says are keep learning, continued education. I think that is straightforward. We always want to learn. We should always have that growth mindset instead of that fixed mindset, right? Learning is fun. I love doing two things. I love learning about new things. I have a bad habit of getting sucked into space, and I'm becoming a quantum physics expert somehow, but that's a whole other story. I blame Marvel as well for that. But also challenging your thoughts. So in the trading world specifically, there are thoughts that I had very young as a trader for whatever reason. And initially we're always stubborn. We think, hey, because I was told this, it must be right. Same thing like when our parents tell us something when we're young, it must be right. Challenge yourself to kind of challenge those thoughts, right? Find someone in the space that has a different opinion. Maybe, going back to the old battle, technical versus fundamental. Maybe you believe that technical is the only way to go, fundamentals are pointless. Instead of just having that mindset, talk to a fundamental trader and said, hey, what do you think about this? How do you use this? What do you think about technicals? And it may not change your mind. You're not necessarily looking to change your mind and do a full 180 with your way of thinking, but you're looking to be open, at least learn, hear a different side of the story, right? We need to listen more and argue less, right? One mouth, two ears. We should be listening more than we argue. But challenge yourself, challenge those old thoughts, because there's only two things that can happen, and they're both positive. One, you hear a different side of the story. Maybe it changes your opinion. Maybe you do a complete shift and you go the other way and you realize something was a lie, and now you've unlocked a new truth that you can pursue. Two, you realize that you were right the whole time, but now you have more proof of that. You're no longer thinking, man, is that true? I'm not sure. I was told it was true, but I don't know if it really is. Now you've done the work to prove that it is true, and you have that 100% belief in whatever you're doing. Next, second to last, the penultimate is going to be take breaks. Taking breaks is very important, right? Our attention span is only so long, and it's important to understand what that attention span is, because if we can only pay attention, right, for a certain period of time, everything outside of that period of time is going to be inefficient work, right? So if I'm focusing 2 hours on doing something and I know that after 1 hour I'm completely clocked out, I've just wasted an hour. Now I've got to go back and do it again, or I've got sloppy work that's going to sabotage me. So it's important to take those breaks, right? I love the Pomodoro effect. We got a Trading Coach podcast on that episode where I go 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 15-minute break or 30-minute break, depending on my schedule. But lock in those breaks, pre-plan those breaks, and stick to them. And part of those breaks meaning when you're in that locked in time, you're avoiding everything else. And that goes to our final topic here, which is using technology wisely. There's socialized too, but I'm not a big social person, so we'll leave that to you guys. But talking to people is important. You don't want to be kind of a hermit crab in your trading office, wherever you're at. Go out and talk to people, experience the world. You learn lots of stuff doing that. But use technology wisely. Technology gets a bad rep, and it is a gift and a curse. It is by far the biggest distraction. I don't have my phone with me right now because I purposely hide it away when I'm doing work, but we have a supercomputer in the palm of our hands at all times. And that supercomputer can unlock all types of information that is relevant to what we're doing, information that is cute cat videos, right? I got stuck the other day watching like baby goat videos for like a half an hour, and I don't even know how that happened, right? It could be the biggest help, but it could also be the biggest distraction. So you want to be careful of how you use it. I'm not one of those people that says don't use social media, because social media is brilliant. There are so many entrepreneurs out there. There are so many business owners. There are so many traders out there that are sharing knowledge on what they've done to get where they're at. And this is knowledge that we never would have had before. Before, you would have had to travel and meet this person in person or pay for a seminar to get their information. Gary Vee, for example. Now you can go to YouTube and enter Gary Vee entrepreneurship tips, and you'll get 15,000 videos that come up. It's an amazing time. But like any tool, we have to use it correctly. If we use it the right way, it can benefit us. If we use it wrong, it can hurt us. So These are some tips on how to maximize your brain capacity, on how to build your brain muscle. If you have anything that I left out, please let me know. Shoot me a DM, leave a comment below this video on YouTube, and let me know what you thought of the podcast. So appreciate you guys joining me. As always, until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. And if you're interested in learning how to trade, make sure you visit our website, www.tier1trading.com, featured in Forbes magazine as the leading innovator in trading education, because we're creative, we use our brains. But take that free trial, or take that 14-day trial, it costs $1. We do that to keep the trolls out, but it gives you access to the platform. You can take some courses, you can join us for some live sessions, you can download some software, and most importantly, you can network with a great community of traders. So that's www.tier1trading.com, and I'll see you guys next episode.